So about a year and a half ago, Swatch teamed up with Omega on the Moon Swatch, and almost immediately after, people started speculating on what the next collaboration would be with Swatch. A lot of people assumed it would be with Omega again, maybe a Seamaster. However, we know today that it was Blancpain, and of course we got a Scuba 50 Fathoms collaboration with Swatch. It has a System 51. It's still made out of bioceramic. However, it does get almost 100 meters of water resistance, and it's actually a pretty cool watch in my opinion. So today I'm going to do a little bit of speculation on what the next collaboration will be within the Swatch group with Swatch. There's plenty of brands to choose from. Let's take a look at some renders that I have created, ideas that I have on Swatch's next collaboration within the Swatch group. So getting right into it, a lot of people immediately thought that Omega would be the only brand collaborating with Swatch. Obviously today we know that is not the case because they have collaborated with Blancpain. So I think that opens it up to the rest of the Swatch group. Brands like Longines, Breguet, Rado, those brands are up for grabs. And I'm going to start with the most likely collaboration, and that is Breguet. And the reason why I say Breguet is because they have a watch that is very historical, would be very easy to adopt to the bioceramic case using a Swatch movement. And of course, I am talking about the Type 20. The Type 20 is a historical watch from World War II. It was commissioned by the French for the French Air Force. These are very good looking, very straightforward chronographs that were meant to be used as tools. These are perfect for a collaboration for a few different reasons. So similar to that Speedmaster and the 50 Fathoms, the two watches that were chosen before it, there are both vintage models and modern examples available for inspiration. So in other words, there is a vintage Type 20, obviously the original Type 20, that they can actually play off of. However, there are also modern Type 20s and Type 21s that they could use as inspirations as well. So there are plenty of different models that they can choose from. There were special editions. Second, it's a chronograph, so they could use the same exact movement that they used in the Moon Swatch. It would actually be pretty easy for them to adopt this movement into a case that looks like the Type 20. There are vintage and modern versions of the Type 20 and the Type 21. However, all of them have one thing in common, or at least most of them do. Their layout is pretty similar. A lot of them do have a 3-register layout, so that would work. And they all have, or most of them have, a bi-directional bezel, which is friction fitted. So that would be very easy as well, very doable to do in bioceramic. I think this would probably come in at that price range, the same price range that the Moon Swatch came in, maybe a little bit more expensive because it would have a movable bezel. And like that Scuba 50 Fathoms and of course the Moon Swatch, these could maybe take inspiration from different planes. I'm not sure exactly what the inspirations could be, but obviously they make like 5 different models for the 50 Fathoms Scuba. That's because there are 5 oceans, and then of course you have all the planets for the Moon Swatch. So maybe planes could be an inspiration here, or maybe there's something more down to earth that I'm not thinking of, but I think that would be very, very interesting. Next, I can go in 2 different directions. We could revisit Omega here because Omega obviously do have some very historic models, especially in their dive watch category. So if we're going to talk about the Seamaster here, we can make a very similar watch to that 50 Fathoms that they just came out with. And of course, there are vintage models, there are modern models, there are tons of special editions that they could pull inspiration from. However, I don't think they're going to go in that direction just yet. I think they're actually going to go with a Hamilton after the Breguet. And I know that doesn't sound like a high-low collaboration. However, in this case, I think they can actually make a Hamilton khaki field at a very, very low cost. It has a very simple case. They could put a quartz movement in here. It's not a chronograph. They could really easily remake the cases in bioceramic. They already come on NATO straps, so that would work. Obviously, they would have to use different materials to make them a little bit less expensive, but that would be very, very easy. I think this could be their most affordable and probably their most available collaboration yet, because this would be very, very easy for them to produce. This would be maybe in that $50 to $100 range, and they could come out with tons of different versions. Obviously, field, so these could be inspired by the continents or something like that, and they can make dozens of these very, very easily and sell them very easily, because this is a very popular watch, one of the most popular watches for people beginning to collect. And I think this makes a really good base for a Swatch collaboration. It's a great watch, and obviously, like I said, it's a starter watch, so they can make this pretty cheap and it still would make sense. It would be a lot cheaper than you can get even a Khaki field on the secondary market, and I think a lot of people would become aware of the brand just from this watch, and that's really the whole entire point here. There are many other brands in their arsenal that they could collaborate in the future. However, that being said, I think they will try and concentrate on their most popular and historic designs first. And the reason why they do that is because those will generate the most hype among collectors. That's the whole point of doing this. The reason why they did the Moon Swatch, the reason why they're doing the 50 Fathoms, is because they want to generate interest in their more expensive watches by releasing these watches. They're getting tons of attention, and that is the point. That's exactly what they're looking to do. Longines and Rado are definitely possibilities. There are tons of watches in their arsenal as well that are very popular. However, those are less of a choice than, of course, Breguet and Hamilton. I think those are probably the front runners. Then there's brands like La Chute Originale and, of course, Harry Winston. There's Tissot, Certina. These are all great brands. However, no one really knows them outside of watch collectors, and the problem with that is they want to generate hype, they want to generate a line, and I don't think that these have enough pull for that. Unfortunately, those would not work. Certain Tissots would, however, the price range would be too close, and recreating something like a PRX in bioceramic would be almost as difficult as just making it in stainless steel. It would probably be a very expensive watch. It wouldn't make much sense. There you go. That's what I think is going to be the next steps for Swatch and, of course, the Swatch Group. So the next collaboration, I'm thinking a Breguet and then probably a Hamilton. From there, we might go back to Omega and then, of course, do another Seamaster, which I think will make sense. They may run through the brands a few times. Omega have a lot of historic, very popular watches that would make a lot of sense for them to sort of remake in bioceramic for a collaboration. But tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you think I'm wrong? What do you think of the renders that I made? They're not that great, but I tried to do it a little bit so that you guys could get a little bit of a visual of what these watches could look like if they actually did a collaboration. Tell me what you think down in the comments below. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It's super helpful for the channel and I very much appreciate it. Anyway guys, thank you for logging on. I'll catch you guys in the next video.